Hare Krishna, welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. We will be starting a new chapter today, 6th chapter of Canto 1. Let's first do the Mangalacharan. So I will share the screen and we can. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, let's recite the Mangalacharan or the invocation verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. So first, our obeisances to Sri Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, and Sri Suta Goswami and Shaunakadi Rishis. If you would like, you can repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim
Devim
Saraswatim
Vyāsadeva
Vyasim
Jayamudirayet
Tato
Tato
Jayamudire
Bhadreshu Bhadreshu
Nashprayeshu Bhadreshu
Nashprayeshu
Vatasevaya
Nityam Bhagavate
Bhagavata Sevaya
Uttamah Shlokir
Bhagavate
Bhagavatam Shloke
Tir Bhavati Naishtiki
Bhaktir
Bhaktir
Bhavati
Bhavati Nishtati
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Vasudevaya
Uti Nandanaya Cha
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Nandagopakumaraya
Nanda
Nandagopakumaraya
Nandagopakumaraya
Namo Namaha.
Govindaya
Govinda
Namo
Namo
Namaha.
Om.
Okay. Very good. So, now we will. Oh, I need to. That's what I was forgetting. I need to join the room from here. 1 second. Then I will make this co-host. Okay. Okay, very nice. So we are on chapter 1.6 or rather. Can you all see the screen?
Yeah.
Canto.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare
Yeah.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Canto 1, chapter 6.
Okay. So, in the previous chapter, Narada Muni was explaining his past life. And he was explaining how he had the association of the sages whom he had the opportunity to serve during the Chaturmas, the 4 months of the rainy season. And now they left. So what happened after that, Narada Muni is continuing to tell the story of his previous life to his disciple, Sri Krishna Dvaipayana Maharshi Vedavyasa or Vyasji. And why is he telling that? That will become clear very soon. There's a very nice sort of understanding given by Sridhar Swami. So, like we said, during this whole discussion, I am consulting 4 commentaries. Sridhar Swami, Jiva Goswami, I'm putting it in the order in which they were written, Sri Vishvanatha Chakravarthy Thakur and Srila Prabhupada. So these 4 commentaries are being consulted, and I'm giving sort of a synopsis of this. It's very relishable that we are going through some of these very important chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so let us continue with the story. As usual, we will go through the verse little bit, some portions of the verse. We will read the translation. I will explain some of the meanings, and we will go like that. Now, today I have not prepared a whole lot of verses. So my goal today might be a short class, maybe 40-45 minutes, but we will end whenever I feel that we have, my preparation is up to about verse number 10 or 12. I have read the commentaries and all. So let's see how far we can get. Okay. So, in the first verse, Suta Goswami is continuing the story. So he says, so Suta Uvacha Evam Nishamya Bhagavan Devarshir Janma Karma Cha Bhuyah Prapacha Tam Brahman Vyasaha Satyavati Sutaha. So what does it mean? It means that Evam Nishamya Bhagavan. So first of all, just a couple of things to note that Suta Goswami is calling Bhagavan to Vyasadeva. So he is calling him as Bhagavan. So thus hearing Evam Nishamya means thus hearing Bhagavan, he asked about, or Vyasadeva asked about Devarshir Janma Karmacha. So Devarshi is Nārada Muni. Narada Muni is usually called Devarshi, Deva Rishi, the Rishi of the Devas, Narada Muni. About his Janma and his Karma, he is asking. Bhuyah Prapachhatam Brahman. So, Vyasji asked him, and Suta Goswami is addressing all the Brahmanas who are sitting there, Shaunaka, Adi Rishis, Saunaka, etc. Bhuyah Prapacha. Again, Bhuyah means again he asked him, who? Vyasaha, who is Satyavati Suta. So, Vyasa, the son of Satyavati, Satyavati Suta, Vyasji is asking Devarshi Narad about the Janma and Karma of Devarshi Narad. Vyasji is asking. So, a couple of points to note here is that, first of all, and in the next 3 verses, so this is text number 1, 2 to 4, more specific questions will be asked. So, one is generally giving that Vyasadeva started asking questions, more questions to Narada Muni. Another point to be noted here is that Vyasadeva is a disciple of Narada Muni. So, it is prudent or it is even encouraged for a disciple to ask questions about the life of the Guru. One should ask, how did you do your devotional practice? Please tell us by your example. Sometimes we feel that, is it okay to ask? Is it not okay to ask about the personal life of our spiritual master? And here we get an example that it is perfectly okay to ask about Janma Karma. So, about the activities, about his birth, about his life. If he knows his past life, which is true in the case of Narada Muni, then yes, absolutely. And also, Sridhar Swami gives a very nice point here that why is Narada Muni explaining this whole story to Vyasadeva? So there is a very important point here. That point is that it is to give confidence to Vyasadeva about the process of bhakti. Because if you remember, the whole hollowness or emptiness that Vyasadeva was facing after writing all the Puranas and the Mahabharata and the Vedas and everything was because he had not glorified Bhagavan and bhakti of Bhagavan properly or front and center. So Narada Muni is trying to explain to Vyasadeva that this bhakti is the most important thing. There is nothing higher than this. So to instill that confidence into Vyasadeva, he is telling his own story, because the story of his past life was nothing other than bhakti. Narada Muni's past life was completely absorbed, was spent in absorption in bhakti, in absorption of Bhagavan, and also in the smarana, in the remembrance of Bhagavan. By the process of smarana, his whole life was spent, right from childhood, from the age of 5 onwards. So to instill that confidence into Vyasadeva, I had given last Sunday a class on smarana. I highly recommend all of you to listen to it. It is recorded and posted on the YouTube channel. Please listen to it. Lot of points I had read from many places, and what I had read in the past, I kind of compressed it into one class, and that class is focused on the topic of smarana and what Narada Muni did in his past life as a small, which starts off as a small boy, is the centerpiece of that story is smarana. So please, that's the connection from that class on smarana to the life of Narada Muni. And this smarana is a very important limb of bhakti. So he did this. He spent his life in bhakti, and you can see next life he became Narada Muni. So that is the That's the point of this explanation. Okay. Okay, we'll go to second verse. So now we'll go a little fast. Okay, sorry, we didn't read translation. So let's see, we'll start from the beginning on my screen at least for those who have their video on. Suri Prabhu, please, can you read this translation?
Hare Krishna. Sutta said, O Brahmanas, thus hearing all about Sri Narada's birth and activities, Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God and son of Satyavati, inquired as follows.
Very nice. Thank you. Second, so now the questions by Vyasadeva. So 3 verses, verse number 2, 3, and 4 will be the verses spoken by Vyasadeva to Narada Muni. So Vyasadeva, Bhikshubhir Vipravasite Vigyan Tribhistava Vartamano Vyasya Vayasya Adye Tatah Kim Akarod Bhavan. So Vyasadeva is asking, Vyasa Uvacha, Bhikshubhir Vipravasite. So when they left, Vipravasite means when they left. Who left? Bhikshubhir. The ones who live by Bhiksha, which means the sages. So when they left, Vijnana Adesh Tribhis Tava. After Tava to you, after giving you Vijnan, after giving you the realized knowledge, the realized spiritual knowledge. So they gave this little boy very good spiritual knowledge. Why? Because he served them. This we had discussed in the past, the importance of seva. So by doing their service, he received this spiritual knowledge. And Vartamano Vayasya Adye. Adye means in the beginning. So Vartamano, before this life. So there is something before this life. So in the previous life, basically. Tatah Kim Akarod Bhavan. What did you do? So what did you do? Basically, the question being asked is, what did you do in your previous life after the sages left? Till the sages were there, that has been described in the previous chapter. That how he served them, how he ate their remnants, how he would sit and listen to their classes, and he would listen very attentively. He was not very naughty boy. He would, sit down in a sober manner and listen carefully to these sages. All that was described. So after they left, what did you do? That is first verse with the questions. So let us see any points. Yeah, okay. So let us see. We'll read the translation. Medha Mataji, kindly read this translation, please.
Hare Krishna. Sri Vyasadeva said, what did you, Narad, do after the departure of the great sages who had instructed you in scientific transcendental knowledge before the beginning of your present birth?
Yeah, before the beginning of your present birth as Narada Muni. So scientific transcendental knowledge. Why scientific is being used by Srila Prabhupada? Because the word Vigyan is used. Yeah, we write it like this. Sorry. Vijnana. So scientific knowledge or Vijnana, or what is another way to say it is realized knowledge. So what the sages give is realized knowledge. The sages apply the knowledge and get certain realizations out of application in their life. And then they tell the knowledge along with their personal examples. I applied it in all spiritual masters, all good teachers of spiritual knowledge will do this because they are not theoretical. A university professor will not be, he will be able to give the Gyan, but he will not be able to give Vigyan. In many big universities, in Western universities, also there are classes on Hindu theology. The professor is an expert at it. At the subject matter, he may know the subject matter nicely, but he has never practiced it because he is just doing his as a day job, as a profession. So he cannot give realizations, personal realizations. That can only be given by an acharya or a practitioner as well. So that is the kind of knowledge that he received through the sages. So that is what Srila Prabhupada is saying, scientific knowledge. Because in science, you not only do theory, you do labs as well. So you learn the theory and then you do the experiments in the lab to see that the theory is correct or not. So it's like that. So scientific knowledge. Okay, third text. So this is the next question. Svayambhuva kaya vritya vartitam te param vayaha katham chedam udasrakshihi kale prapte kalevaram. So Swayambhuva kaya vritya. So Swayambhuva. So the son of Swayambhu Manu. So or son of Brahma is Swayambhu. So Narada, another name for Narada is Swayambhu, or born from Brahma. So he is Swayambhu kaya vritya. What did you do? Kya kiya? Kaya vritya. Vartitam te param vayaha. And how did you spend the rest of your life? Katham chedam udasrakshihi. So how did you quit this body, kale prapte kalevaram, and attain this new one in kale, in due course of time? So basically, how did you, what did you do? How did you leave your previous body? And how did you get this new body? And this new body of Narada Muni is very famous because this new body is transcendental. It is not made of material elements, because Narada Muni in that same body can go from one universe to another universe and even go to spiritual world. So that body is very special. So he is asking not only because usually the general understanding of moksha is that when one leaves this body, this material body, the soul goes to the spiritual world and attains a spiritual body and then lives in the spiritual world forever. Na nivartante tad dhamam paramam mama. That is what is said in Bhagavad Gita. So na nivartante, never comes back. So they continue to stay in the spiritual world for eternity. Now, Narada Muni is little different. He is able to come back, go there and all that. So he has a very special body. So Narada Muni is a very special person in that sense. So that is what Vyasadeva is asking. How did you get this life and this body especially? Okay. So translation. Let us see. Kaya Mataji, kindly read this.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. O son of Brahma, how did you pass your life after initiation? And how did you attain this body, having quit your old one in due course?
Okay, thank you. So, next, more questions. Another very important question is being asked. Prakalpa vishayam etam smritim te muni sattama na hya esha vyavadhat kala esha sarva nirakritihi. So, prakalpa vishayam etam. So all these topics of the previous day of Brahma. So when Narada Muni took his life, or took his present, not life, but body, that is in the next day of Brahma. So his previous life as the son of a maidservant was in the previous day of Brahma. Okay. So that is when, so all these topics that are being narrated by Narada Muni are from the previous day of Brahmaji. So that's what is being said. Prak Kalpa. Kalpa means day of Brahma is known as Kalpa. So Prak Kalpa means the previous Kalpa. Vishayam, all these Vishaya. Vishaya means all these subjects or subject matter. From the previous day of Brahma, Smritim te Muni Sattama. Smriti means how do you remember? So does anybody remember his past life? 99.99999% people don't remember even their past life in this day of Brahma. Now, what happens between 2 days of Brahma? What is there?
Night of Brahma.
Night of Brahma.
What?
And it is very long. The night of Brahma is the same as the day of Brahma, the duration. So the question he's asking is, all these things happened in the previous day of Brahma. How do you remember them in your next life, which happened on the next day of Brahma, separated by one full night of Brahma? So Vyasadeva is very puzzled with this ability of Narada Muni. So, Smritim te Muni Sattama. Na here Esha Vyavadhat Kala. Looks like Na Esha Vyavadhat. Vyavadhat means effect, especially like a negative effect, adverse effect. So, Kal, looks like Kal had no effect on you. Kal has so much effect on all of us, isn't it? We say time is the biggest, healer, or it makes us forget. In due course, we forget so many things. Even if we have made friends, we forget our old friends. Even if we have made enemies, time heals the wounds, we say. Then we forget what they have done, and then again, we become friends and move on. So time creates forgetfulness. With time, our memory fades. In this case, Narada Muni's memory was intact. That's what is said here. Esha sarva nirakritihi. Nirakriti means annihilation or destruction. So time is the greatest destroyer also. All great people, ultimately, they have to succumb to time. So time is the greatest destroyer. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Lord Krishna says. So it seems that time did not have any effect on your memory. So there is something very unique about Narada Muni that is being pointed out. So the thing that Vyasadeva is pointing out is the uniqueness of the personality of Narada Muni, his memory and his body. So these are the unique aspects of Narada Muni that are being highlighted by Vyasji. And what did you do in your previous life to get this? जैसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, कौन सी चक्की का आटा खाया था? So what did you do? How come you got this position? So that is the kind of the mood or the sentiment being shown by Vyasadeva. Like, my God, you must have done something outstanding. And what he did is one of the highest levels of bhakti through the process of smarana, which will come later through the chapter. So it is also highlighting the process of bhakti. So that is the greatness of bhakti. Okay, so let us see. Renuka Mataji, please read this. You are on mute.
Hare Krishna. O great sage, time annihilates everything in due course. So, how is it that this subject matter, which happened prior to this day of Brahma, is still fresh in your memory, undisputed by time?
Undisturbed by time. All right, thank you. So now Narada Muni starts answering the question. Narada Uvacha. So 5th verse onwards is the description of Narada Muni. So please pay attention. This is very sweet description by Narada Muni. So very similar verse. Narada Uvacha Bhikshubhir Vipravasite Vijnana Adeshtribhir Mama Vartamano Vayasya Adye Tata Etad Akarasham. So he's repeating the same sort of lines that were spoken by his eyes, kind of starting the answer with part of the question, just to show that he got the question. So I'm not going to go line by line because this is very similar. Bhikshubhir Vipravisate means, Vasite means the sages, the Bhikshubhir, when they went Vijnana adeshtibhir mama. There it was tava, if you remember. Couple of verses ago. Where is it? Tava. Vijnana adeshtibhir tava. And he is saying mama over here. Vijnana adeshtibhir mama. So he is just changing that and saying, repeating the question. It's a general way to answer a question, to show that I got your question. I remember your question. I had learned in a management class that the best way to start the answer to the question is to repeat the question and try to repeat it as exactly as possible. It instills a lot of confidence in the questioner, that this person was so attentive in listening to my question that he was able to repeat it word by word. And then the answer that is given, the questioner listens to the answer more carefully because he has the confidence that my question was, you cannot say if it was understood or not, but it was verbatim repeated. So that is what is being shown here. Okay. And Vartamano Vayasya Adye, again, it was there in the previous question also, before this life, Tata Etad Akarasham, I did the following. Tata Ekad Akarasham, that now I am going to tell you what I did. So here, so this text number 5 is basically a repetition of the question, and the purpose is to instill confidence in Vyasadeva. Okay, and this even is an important management principle. I wonder if they took it from Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, let us see. Meera Mataji, kindly read this.
Sri Narada said, the great sages who had imparted scientific knowledge of transcendental to me departed for other places, and I had to pass my life in this way. Thank you, Prabhuji.
In this way means in the following way. Okay, next comes very important 3 verses, 6 to 8. Okay, so in these 3 verses, Nārada Muni's relationship with his mother is being described. And it's a very, you will see, it's a very strong relationship. Okay. So why it is a strong relationship? It is a strong relationship.
Vatsalya.
Okay. Well, mother and child will always be Vatsalya. But why is it, within that also, why is it strong? Okay. So a couple of points. So we will see some of these points. So some of the points will be that, at least, I mean, of course, every child has only one mother, but a mother can have multiple children, isn't it? She had only one child. So that is one. From her standpoint, she had only one child. The second point was, she was very poor. And so was obviously the child also was poor. Basically, you will see that there was no other shelter. Okay, there was no big life insurance that if you die, there is like, $10 million bank balance to fall back upon or anything like that. So there was no, this was the only shelter. And not only for the child, even for the mother, she was also alone. Her husband was not there. So there is no history of her husband. Possibly he passed away or whatever may be the case. But even for the mother, the 5-year-old child was the only shelter. Now you can think that how can for a mother, the child be the shelter? But all mothers will know, and especially if the husband seems to, would not be there, even a, small child is, is a shelter for the mother. So I'm sure many people can say that from their experience. So, and there was a lot of love between the mother and the child. You will see here so this is a very strong bodily relationship or a material level relationship. That is what is being shown here. And you should all try to see yourself in it. In our lives, now many people may be very rich or maybe big, have a big, may have other shelters. But try to put yourself in a situation where you have only one shelter. And in 4 verses later, we will see that she dies. She is bitten by a snake and she dies. So at least from the boy's standpoint, his only shelter was removed or taken away. So from our standpoint, we should try to see, this is basically showing one very real or the most serious impact, or the most serious, I would say, very harsh incident or an accident that life can throw at you. That your one and only dearmost person is taken away from you. And if one asks you what do you fear the most people will say the loss of a loved one. Not loss of money, property. Yes, those are important, but for most people, the loss of a loved one is the biggest loss. So that is what is going to happen here. So this is one of the most serious situations that one can face. And try to see that in this episode, in these 3 verses, that first of all, that moha is shown. And in the fourth verse, it will be cut. So first, I'm just saying it lightly, that first you show the rosy picture and then you throw, like, you just explode it. You just, you cut it out. So that drastic sort of, dramatization is kind of shown here. So try to see, this is how life acts, and we should, think about it. So let us go through these 3 verses. Ekatmaja me janani yoshin mudha cha kinkari mai atmaje nanya gatau chakre snehanubandhanam. Very beautiful verse. So you can see some of the points here. I will explain. Ekatmaja. Atmaja means what? Son. Eka Atmaja means only one son. So not like multiple children, or, he did not have any brothers and sisters to rely upon. He was the only child. Eka Atmaja me janani. So I was the only son of my mother. Janani means mother. Yoshin mudha cha kinkari. And mudha means doesn't mean fool here. Mudha can have multiple meanings. Here it means that she was a very, very simple, not very intelligent, you can say. Mudha means the opposite of intelligent is fool, you can say, or intelligent, you can say opposite of intelligent is very illiterate, who doesn't know
Ignorant.
Yes, ignorant, illiterate, how to run the world, or how to find your way, manipulate through this world.
Naive.
Naive, yes, very naive and all that. So that is the meaning here. So Yoshin means that woman, my mother, that lady, was very naive, very simple, didn't know anything. So basically what is being shown is that she relied on her son a little bit. That reliance was there, that if something goes wrong, my son will help me. Not now, maybe when he grows up or whatever. Cha kinkari. Kinkari means that she was a maid servant. Okay, this word kinkari also comes, in that famous verse, Satatam smartavya Vishnu vismartavya najatuchit, that always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. And that these 2 principles, all other Vedic principles, are kinkari of this one fundamental principle, are the maid servants. So in Vaidhi Bhakti, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we had learned that all other principles are the maid servants of this fundamental principle, that always remember Vishnu, never forget Vishnu. So there also the word kinkari was used. So you can see here, kinkari is used in a more literal sense here. Literally it is, she was a maid servant, helping the sadhus and all in the ashram. Mai atmaje ananya gatau. So, she had the Mai Atmaje, and since I was the only son of my mother, Ananya Gatau, she had no other place to go, or she had no other shelter. Ananya Gatau.
Na anya gatau.
Na Anya Gatau, yes. And Chakre Sneha Anubandhanam. And I was tied by her in a Sneha Anubandhana. In the sort of like a circle of love, I was tied by her. So this is the situation, what is being described of Narada Muni in his previous life. And you can see sort of, the bond was very strong between him and his mother. So that is what is being shown here. Okay. Meera Mataji, have you read yet? Or
Prabhuji, you want me to read this also?
no, you have done before?
Yeah.
Okay. Makarand Prabhu, can you read this? You're on mute.
I was the only son of my mother, who was not only a simple woman, but a maidservant as well. Since I was her only offspring, she had no other alternative for protection. She bound me with the tie of affection.
Yeah. Okay. So the same sentiment is continued in the next verse. Sa aswatantrata na kalpasid yoga kshemam mamechhati ishasya hi vashe loko yosha darumayi yatha. So what is being said here is that sa aswatantra na kalpasid. So sa aswatantra na, she was not or rather na swatantra. So sa swatantra na, she was not independent. So basically it is meaning that she was dependent on me. And so that is one part. And then kalpasid yogam kshemam mame chati. So yoga kshemam means maintenance. In Bhagavad Gita also there is this word yoga kshemam vahamyaham, that I maintain or I carry and I provide. I carry what they lack, my devotees, and I provide or I maintain or I preserve what they have, and I provide for or I carry what they lack. So basically this is the act of maintenance. So yoga kshemam. So she was providing for or maintaining the child. Mamechhati, or she wanted to provide everything for the child, but she was unable to do so because of her poverty, because of her situation. So she was desirous of kalpasit yoga kshemam mama ichchati. She had a strong desire for the best of her child. So every mother will desire the best, very best for her child, and so she also was like that. Now, this is from the standpoint of the material situation of the mother's love for Narada Muni. In these two lines, Narada Muni is describing that what he saw it as. What he saw it as, Ishasya hi vashe loko, that the Lord is in control of the entire world, of all the worlds. Ishasya hi vashe, that vashe means in control of. Yosha darumayi yatha, and we are all like darumayi means wooden. Wooden means daru means wooden, and yesha means a doll. So we are all just like puppets in the hand of the Lord. So that is how Narada Muni was seeing the situation, that yeah, because of his knowledge that he had received from the sages. So Narada Muni had received this deep realization from the sages, and from the sages, by association of the sages, what he had received was Tattva Jnana. So he had received the spiritual knowledge, the deepest spiritual knowledge, through the association of these sages. And that is why he was able to see this relationship in a slightly detached manner, that we are all being, controlled by these bonds of love, which are all at a material level. In this life, we are bond, or we have a bond to this person. Next life, we may have a bond to another person based on the bodily relationships. So that is how he was seeing this. Yeah. So, yeah, now we can read this translation. Let us see. Ramakant Prabhu, kindly read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. He wanted to look after my maintenance properly, but because she was not independent, she was not able to do anything for me. The world is under the full control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everyone is like a wooden doll in the hands of puppet master. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Then 8th verse. So this is the 3rd verse describing the relationship between the mother and the child. Aham cha tad brahma kule ushivans tad upekshaya digdesha kala avyutpanno balakah panchahayanaha. So aham cha tad brahma kule, and I was also in that brahma kula. Brahma kul means like in that ashram where the brahmanas and all used to live. So I was in that aham cha tad brahma kule ushivans tad upekshaya, and I lived in that place. Ushivans, upekshaya means being dependent. So similarly, I was dependent on my mother. And why was he dependent on his mother? Because he was a very small child. Here it will be said balaka panchahayanaha. Panchahayana means 5 years old. I was a balak, I was a child of 5 years old, 5 years age, small boy. And how can you describe a small child 5 years old? He has no experience of the world. So that is what is mentioned here. Dig desha kala. Dig means direction. Desha means place or land. And kala means time. Or basically, how to, various, how people behave.
Time and space.
Experience that comes through time, of people, of circumstances and situations. So, avyutpanno means kala avyutpanno, the learnings that one gets through time. And what is that called? Experience, the learnings that one gets through time. So I had none of these things. I didn't know how, where to go, what to do, what are the various, things, how you need to conduct yourself in this world. I had no such knowledge. And therefore, I was dependent on my mother as I was living in the ashram, because I was a small 5-year-old boy. So you can see here the sort of the dependence of the mother on the child and of the child on the mother. So this, you can see here how strong that sort of bond is. And the loss of one would be very hard on the other. For a mother to lose its small child, 5-year-old child, is very hard. And even for this 5-year-old child, for the loss of a parent is very hard. And this 5-year-old boy very well recognizes the parent. It's not like a 6-month-old child who has no knowledge or no memory. 5-year-old child is pretty old. to know who is father, who is mother, and if that is taken away, it's a very, very big loss. Okay. All right. Shalu Mataji, kindly read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. When I was a mere child of 5 years, I lived in a Brahman school. I was dependent on my mother's affection and had no experience of different lands.
Very nice. Okay, 9th verse. Then what happens? Ekada. Ekada means once upon a time, or one day, you can say. One day, what happens? Nirgatam gehad. Duhanti nishigam pathi. Sarpo dashat padas prishtah. Kripanam kalachoditaha. So, Ekada nirgatam gehad. So she had gone somewhere. She had gone away from gehad, means from home. From her home, nirgatam. She had left the home to do what? Duhanti nishi gam pathi. So gam means guy or cow. And duhante means to milk the cow. And it was nishi. Nishi means night time. So during the night, there might be some reason to, maybe, to milk the cow in the night to keep it ready for the sadhus or whoever, brahmanas in the morning to do their worship from milk or whatever was the need. So she had to keep fresh milk ready for the morning. So she went in the night to milk the cow. Sarpo dashat padas prishta. Padas prishta means she happened to step on a snake. There was a snake on the ground and she happened to step on it because it was night. Sarpo dashat. Saap ne dash liya. Dash liya means
A snake bit.
Bit. Snake bit the foot of the mother. Kripanam kala choditaha. And like this, my mother was struck by the kala choditaha, but not by the snake, but by the kal, by the force of time. So, Kripanam means the poor, or you can say ill-fated, or whatever, Kripanam means, the poor lady, like a,
Short-lived.
Short-lived. Kripanam means, very, very sad situation.
Bechari.
Huh?
Bechari. Something like
Bechari. Exactly. The Hindi, you can say that like that. Bechari. So she was struck. Choditaha means struck by time. So here the snake basically is representative of the snake of time. So time is like that. Time is not only the greatest healer, time is also, today if there is happiness, let some time pass and the happiness will 100% bring sorrow. And if there is sorrow, give it some time and there will be happiness. This is the duality of material life. So everything was going fine in their life, and then the snake of time bit and it brought calamity. So that is what is being shown here. Okay, let us see. Somebody else kindly read the translation.
Once upon a time, my poor mother, when going out one night to milk a cow, was bitten on the leg by a serpent influenced by supreme time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thanks. So this is what happens. Then, now you can imagine the situation of the small boy, how he might have been or he could have been devastated, completely traumatized by this situation. But what happened in his case, Narada Muni's case? So that is described, the initial sort of the first reaction of Narada Muni is described in the 10th verse. Tada tad aham ishasya bhaktanam sham abhipsataha anugraham manyamanaha pratishtham dishamuttaram. So tada tad aham ishasya. So at that time, I took it to be the Lord's. Ishasya means Lord's. What? Lord's what? Lord's Shama. Shama means mercy. On Bhaktanam, on his devotees. So I took this, the loss of one's mother. How is it possible that anybody can take it as a mercy? Isn't it hard? So this comes when one has jnana or one has vijnana, one has realized knowledge. Plus one has received mercy of pure devotees. In Narada Muni's case, he had both. He got the mercy of those devotees, plus he received very solid spiritual knowledge from them. So this is what happens when one comes in contact with pure devotees. That both Vairagya as well as Bhakti, both arise in the heart. So there was Bhakti, which we will see in the next several verses, and the first aspect was Vairagya. That it's okay if what I had possessed so much or what I was attached to so much was taken away, one is not impacted by it. And one is still able to see it as the mercy of Bhagavan. Abhipsataha anugraham. Abhipsataha anugraham. What it means is that he considered this act to be Abhipsata means one who desires the welfare, and anugraham means the welfare of the devotee. So he could still see that the Lord is someone who desires the welfare of his devotees. So when something happens, something very bad happens in one's life, many people say, I reject God. I have done so much for God, and what has he done for me? Nothing. Not only he did nothing, he took away something that I had, or my most dear possession that I had, he took it away. So I reject God. God is not a friend. He is a cold-hearted, barbaric, cold-hearted person who just takes away things for no reason. So one can think that way. But here he is thinking the Lord to be Abhipsataha Anugraham, that one who is having the welfare of his devotees in the mind. Now, this is mentioned by Lord Krishna as well, or it is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, by the Vedas, when they are glorifying Krishna, they are saying that the Lord, when he is specially merciful on the devotees, sometimes he takes away things that the devotees are attached to. But there is a caveat. So please understand what is the caveat. Sometimes the Lord does take away what you are attached to, our attachments, but only the caveat is only to the extent that the devotee can, or not can, we will say, is able to tolerate. Lord knows what is our tolerance level. So he takes away. Just like a father, if he sees that the child will be very, very, very upset if I take away the toy or whatever he's attached to, he will let it be there. But if he knows that it is in the benefit of the child, if I take away the toy or the candy or whatever it is for his benefit, if he's eating too much candy or whatever, and the child will not go completely crazy, then the father takes it away. There will be some upset, there will be some rona dhona for some time, and then things will be fine. So that is how the Lord brings the devotee closer to him. Because when attachments are taken away, then one realizes that our only attachment should be with Krishna, and that attachment will never be taken away. Whether one is put in the jail or is, anything happens, one can never take away one's attachment that one has in the heart towards Bhagavan. That can, just think about it. Nobody can take it away. Even Hiranyakashipu could not take it away from Prahlad. Even though he could have done so many things, not only he could have done, he tried to do so many things to Prahlad. That internal attachment can never be taken away. That is one thing that one can never take away from anyone. Even time, even Yamaraj cannot take away that attachment from one's soul. That is the deepest level of smarana. So that is called the fifth level of smarana, which is samadhi. When one's soul is having the absorption in Bhagavan. So even if the body is destroyed, the soul's absorption in Bhagavan is there. That is the fifth stage of smarana known as samadhi. And that cannot be taken away by anything material at a material level. So Yamaraj and time, all these are material elements. Yamaraj is a material, he can act only on the material energy. Time is a material energy of Bhagavan. So when the soul is attracted or attached to Bhagavan, that cannot be taken away by anyone. Okay, so that is the caveat. And in Narada Muni's case, the Lord knew that if I take away the mother, this boy will not be devastated. And that is what happened. So as you can see here, Abhipsata Anugraham Manya Manaha. This is how I considered it. Manya means I took it. Aisa maine mana. Manya Manaha. Aisa maine mana. You can think of it like that in Hindi. And Pratishtham Disham Uttaram. So Pratishtham means I departed for the northerly direction towards the Himalayas. So Pratishtham Disham Uttaram. So I started going towards the north. So Sri Vishvanatha Chakravarthy Thakur says that he did not even perform the last rites for his mother. When she passed away, he just left. Because all these things are just at a material level. When you are completely attached or attracted to the Lord, all these things do not matter. So, but that level of attraction should be there. So one should not falsely give up one's varnashram duties. So doing the last rites for parents, etc., are parts of the Vedic varnashram duties. So one should not falsely give up that, oh, Narada Muni gave up, then I will also give up. Then we should do other things that Narada Muni did as well. So those we won't do, we will try to only pick based on our convenience. That is pretense. That is simple. That's not wrong. That's not correct. But he was so detached, he did not even perform the last rites, and he just left towards the northerly direction. Okay. Somebody who has not read yet, Nisha Mataji, can you please read? You are muted.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I took this as the special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benediction for his devotees. And so thinking, I started for the north.
Very good. You had a question, you raised your hand.
No, Prabhuji, I thought you were asking if someone would like to read.
Okay, okay. Sorry, next one you can.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Any questions at this point? Or any discussion? Anything? So we'll stop here, I guess. Next time, I think, yeah, we'll continue. It's also past 7 o'clock and I have some things to do today. So we will, but does anybody have any comments or questions or anything impacted you in this discussion? Anyone?
Prabhuji,
Yes.
thank you so much for elucidating these beautiful verses. And I I am feeling very much that when Narada Muni lost his mother, that it was not only that he would be able to handle it, but I feel like it became the glue that made him an even more developed bhakta.
Yes.
And I feel that in my own life, that sometimes when tragedy has struck, it has just brought me more closely to the feet of Krishna.
Mhm. Yeah. And any like thoughts that anybody, yourself, Mataji, or anybody else, as to what caused that?
Satsang with all of the munis and in the ashram, all the seva that he took, and he took all of the food, the prasadam, he partook of so much of the beautiful lessons from all of the munis and the sacred people and their beautiful prasad. And that went so deeply into him that it transformed him into such a beloved devotee.
Very nice. Thank you. Anybody else would like to share what caused Narada Muni to be, when the greatest calamity occurred, for him to consider it as a mercy of the Lord? How many of us would be ready to react or have that kind of a reaction or that kind of a mindset if something even remotely as close as this happens in our life? Would we be able to react in this way or take it in this way? Firstly,
Not at all. Not at all. Because he was certainly from the past life, so many life, he was in that condition. His soul was in that condition that he could detach himself by the bondage of her mother. Otherwise,
but
it's
somewhere
not possible for him.
when we say, yeah, in his case, past life was there, I'll just say this. I don't mean to deny what you are saying, but somewhere there is this aspect that he was special and I am not. It happened so in his past life, but not in my past life. So I am just plain, unlucky. But that is I would say, a irresponsible way to look at it. What would be a more responsible way to look at it? Not just look at it, but what can we learn from it? If he was just lucky and I am not, there's nothing to learn. We'll just wait for our luck to show up.
Prabhuji, so in our lives, all of us have, we do face certain circumstances which are as bad or maybe even worse, right? So I think it is a calling for all of us that what we should do. Maybe we cannot 100% be like Narada Muni, even 1% or 0.5% like him. Is I think what we should try to achieve so that even in our future lifetimes, we kind of grow on top of it, right? So at least we can start somewhere. So I think that is where
Point. That's what I'm trying to get to. Very well said. So we are definitely not at his level. I am not. Where do we start? Or maybe we have all started. We cannot just say that we are just complete beginners. Many of you have already started. All of us. I can look at all the names. So I cannot say anybody is a complete beginner or a complete novice. But how can we improve? To someday, in some lifetime, maybe become like Narada Muni.
Harinam Jap.
Very nice.
Prabhuji, association, that is the main thing.
Association
Yeah. Sadhus.
of sadhu.
Sadhu Shastra. Yeah. And then on the strength of that, he gains the knowledge. So he gets the strength to survive, to bear everything on his knowledge, which he gained from those munis.
Yeah.
You know?
So
That's what I think. Because such a child, he was only 5 years old. He can't even imagine in this material world to, 5-year-old, what would happen to him. But he took it in his stride, kind of, because of the knowledge he gained from them.
Having faith, Prabhuji, and trust.
Having
Having faith in God.
Faith in God. What does it mean? Okay, I have faith in
That he is the organizer and planner of our life, that he has some, plans in our life, how we are going to go back to him. That thing.
Okay.
That he gives us, challenges so that we can grow and, find the real
practically
attachment.
This one and this one, there is some real practical aspect to it. So how would we put this into a more practical aspect? So I'll suggest something. Okay. So yes, in many cases, life gives us some negative situations. Okay. It happens in our life. Many times, okay, now we may see the negative situations as a negative situation. Okay, completely. There is nothing positive in it. But many times, so maybe there are some situations like that which are just negative and there is absolutely nothing. Hopefully, it's not too bad. Okay. But in my life, I can say there are many, many situations where I was saved, where at that moment it appeared like, no, this is not what I wanted. This is not how it should have been. But after some time, I figured, no, this was actually good for me. This actually turned out better than how I was thinking it should have turned out. So many situations are there in my life where I can see that the Lord, I was trying to go on the right-hand side. The Lord said, he put me and lifted me and said, no, you go left instead of going right. And what I found on this path was much better than what I was hoping to get on the other path. I was like, thank you. At that time, I was complaining. Why are you forcing me to go this way? Or why did you block that other way? Now, this seems to be, more than what I would have got on the other path. There have been so many situations like this. So to see the hand of God in all our situations of life where we thought or we wanted things to go a certain way, but the Lord made it go a different way. And many people have such experiences, have certain sort of reversals in life where they are left with the feeling that Krishna's plan for me is better than my plan for me. So we can, and then the faith in God increases. So that is something we can try and analyze in our life. Okay. Now, many of you have raised your hands and then lowered it. I saw Madhavi Manjari Mataji and Shamlila Mataji. And then do both of you have anything to add here?
Prabhuji, actually, when we were going through class and you were explaining, I just remembered the Alabdeva Vinashteva verse. This is like that verse in practice.
Yes, exactly. So do you remember that verse fully?
Not fully, but I have it on my notes so I can read it.
Okay. Alabdeva Vinashteva Bhakshya Achadana Sadhane Aviklava Matir Bhutva Harim Eva Dhiyasmarit. So this is a very, very powerful verse from Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which in turn is taken from Sri Padma Puran, which says that just completely depend on the Lord. Think of the Lord. Even when you get something which you wanted, or something gets taken away which you did not want to be taken away. So
एक कहावत हम लोगों में बहुत चलती है, जो हमारा विश्वास है कि जो हुआ सो अच्छा हुआ, जो नहीं हुआ वो ज्यादा अच्छा.
उसमें एक चीज और ऐड कर दीजिए, हरि
जी।
की इच्छा से जो हुआ वो अच्छा हुआ, और जो नहीं अच्छा हुआ वो और अच्छा हुआ। बट उसमें हरि
नहीं,
की,
जो नहीं हुआ, हाँ, जो नहीं हुआ वो ज्यादा अच्छा हुआ।
परंतु उसमें हरि की इच्छा लगाना आवश्यक है।
थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
वेरी नाइस। माधवी मंजरी माता जी, डिड यू
Hare
want?
Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah, so I was about to say what Medha Mataji already told, like in the association of pure devotees and the mercy of the pure devotees, we can reach at that level. And as Shalu Mataji said about the faith, and you were asking like what faith is. So for me, the faith is like believing what God is doing for me is the best for me. So that's what you told. So that's why I put it down. Yeah.
Yes. So faith in God means to see what the Lord is already doing for us. Okay. And you can see this in your own life. If you have children, I'm just taking a normal example, small child may only think, oh, I asked my father, did not do this for me, did not do that, did not do that, did not do that. If you ask the father, he will say, I did this, I did that, I did that, I did that. That you are not seeing, you're only counting what I didn't do. So just the same situation, same father-son relationship, both are seeing it completely opposite. One is only seeing what was not done, and one is seeing what all was done. So if we can put ourselves in the situation to see what all the Lord has done, our faith increases. And one must also see that in many cases, these are highly improbable. It's not a coincidence. It's not a chance. It's not something that should have turned out better. And especially when we are doing it with some faith in the Lord, then the faith increases.
Prabhuji, I want to share one thing in this case, as you mentioned about the child. So, one time last year, it happened with me. My 6-year-old son, he swallowed a Lego block, a piece. So, but I was not at all scared. I was like fully have faith in God. Like whatever the worst, whatever, like he can do whatever he can do. That will be best for me. And I was like not at all worried. I was so calm, and I was thinking once it passed, but nothing happened to him. By luckily he was fine. So I was after that. I after the incident, I thought that that was my test. Like God was testing me. How will I react on that situation? So I was thinking if it would have been done before 3 years, I would have panicked. But now I was so calm. So that change I can see in myself.
Yeah, it's a very tough test. And another point you bring out is that whenever these things happen in our life, we may think we are very advanced. We are doing japa, we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and all these things. When these situations occur in our life, we should, just like you, not in maybe that moment, but little bit later, we should analyze and see that what was our reaction. And if that reaction is still at a very materialistic level, that means all this japa and reading Shravana Kirtan, probably we need to do more seriously, because it's not really having an effect. So we should use those moments as contemplative moments, as you can think of it like midterm exams, intermediate tests. The final test will be when we are about to die. Antakale cha mameva. So that will be the final test. These are our midterm exams or our intermediate tests. And we should try to get a, assessment of whether we are going to get A grade or B grade or C grade in the final exam from these mid-level tests in our life. Very, very nice point. Okay, any other? Suri Prabhu, you had raised your hand. Anything you wanted to add?
Only half minute, Prabhuji.
Hmm.
Once I was from morning 5 o'clock, night 10 o'clock, I was continuously, unusually doing japa. I went out and coming back. I went out in connection with my daughter's admission. I met with the bus accident. 4 people died. I was luckily saved with minor injuries. Japa saved me.
Okay, very nice. Very nice. Good realization. So this Naam Jap, we should, the most important thing. So in that class on Smaran, I had talked about the importance of doing Naam Jap with a lot of focus. And many people, including myself, are doing Naam Jap. But many times devotees forget Naam Aparadha. So among those 4 items that I have talked about in the class, the most important is Naam Aparadha. So when we are doing Naam Jap, not when we are doing, throughout our life, if we are doing Naam Jap in our life, we must be very careful to avoid all the Naam Aparadhas. There are 10 Naam Aparadhas. And we must completely avoid them. So we must first of all know what are the 10 Naam Aparadhas. Now I had done a whole series on it. And you should read about these and keep it front and center in your mind. Because while one is committing Naam Aparadhas and one is doing Naam Jap, it is not going to be helpful. The example that is given is that of a mad elephant who takes a bath in a river, comes out and immediately rolls in the dust. Again becomes dirty. Within 2 minutes, he is dirty. That whole bath that he took in the river was completely useless. So we should not be like that kind of a mad elephant who takes a bath every morning, 2 minutes later comes and sprinkles dust on all over his body. What is the point of taking the bath? So Naam Aparadha is like that. We do Naam Jap and then 2 minutes later we go and commit Naam Aparadha and all of the Naam Jap is just washed away. So we must, so when many people say, oh, I'm doing 10 years, 20 years of Naam Jap, I don't see any much difference in my life. The number one reason is they are not paying attention to Naam Aparadha. That is the number one reason. So Naam Jap has a lot of potency. It has tremendous potency. It is like chemotherapy drug. It is like that potent. It can kill cancer. It's the most advanced drug in the whole universe. But it needs to be taken with the proper prescription. And the proper prescription is to avoid the Naam Aparadha. So please try to understand the Naam Aparadhas. And the number one Naam Aparadha is Satam Ninda, which means doing criticism of the saints or the Vaishnavas. Even mentally. Now in Kali Yuga, of course, mental activities do not have any effect. But what it does is that if you keep doing the mental criticism, one day it will come out of the mouth. So you are basically preparing yourself for that eventual casualty. It's like driving without seatbelt. Driving without seatbelt is no problem. Nobody has died because he did not wear seatbelt. But if you don't wear it enough, one day you will die. So you are preparing yourself. You see the difference? So one should never create the habit of not wearing the seatbelt. Because one day it will lead to the death. Similarly, even criticism in the mind is like driving without seatbelt. One day may be okay. But there will come a day when it will impact you. Okay. And then the other one is doing Naam Jap inattentively, in a rush. Many people, the moment they finish one round of Jap, they look at the watch, how many minutes it took. I used to do that myself. I have stopped doing that. Then it is more like a race against time. That's like an employee or like a servant, a slave who's always looking at the time. Is it 5 o'clock? Is it 5 o'clock? Kab chutti milegi? So that is the mentality. Naam Jap should be done with a free mind. Doesn't matter how long it takes. Do it with high quality. with attention. Quality means attention. So there are 6 aspects of adara in Naam Jap. So we should, I will maybe, discuss this sometime later. It's getting late already, but somebody pointed out Naam Jap. So Naam Jap is very important, but Naam Kirtan it is called. Yeah. So anyway, so these are the points, very nice points. I think this is enough. Association, Naam Jap, and association means association and then hearing spiritual topics in association. So that is what one does. And not only just hearing, Q&A, resolving the doubts. Very important. Resolving the doubts. And that cannot be done by reading a book or by listening to a class on YouTube. It can only be done in a two-way conversation. The closest it comes is Zoom. Best is in person. But for resolving doubts, you must have doubts. To have doubts, you must practice it. Then you will have doubts. If you have never even tried to practice, there will never be any doubts. And then you will have no doubt resolution. At best, you can ask some, superfluous questions. What about this? What about that? What about that? I read this somewhere. What about this? It's just like, a time pass. Why Nrsimhadev has, yellow, or why this? Why? Some arbitrary questions. So doubts are the ones that come out of one's practice. So such questions are the best questions. So that happens in association of devotees. That's how we should take advantage of association of devotees, of sadhus. So by doing all this, then one can build the muscle to deal with impacts like this, big impacts in life, and the biggest impact that will happen at the end of our life, which is antakalecha mameva, when the prana, when the life air will be removed from the body. That will be the final test. Okay. I think we discussed enough. Any last minute points? Yes, Shamlila Mataji.
Prabhuji, sorry, because you brought up the Shravan class, is it okay to ask a question from there? Because I was a little confused about the Dorbalyam and the Asat Trishna. They sort of seemed similar, or like there was a big overlap in them. Is this the right time, or should I ask later?
No, this is good. All questions I prefer to be asked in two advantages. Others who are listening can also take benefit, and then it gets recorded, and I can also point in the future that if you have the same question, go listen here. And as you know, one very nice devotee is making the timestamps. So that is very helpful. Then I can say, here is the timestamp where it can be referenced. So the question is, what is the difference between Hridaya Dorbalyam and Asat Trishna? So these are two items which we discussed, which cause ineffectiveness in our Shravana and Kirtan, which are very solid prerequisites for Smarana. Because I'm just summarizing, Shravana and Kirtan lead to Chitta Shuddhi or Antahakarana Shuddhi, the cleansing of the heart, which is very important for Smarana. So that is how it is connected to Smarana. But two other things other than Naam Aparadha that lead to ineffectiveness in our Shravana and Kirtan, and Japa is Kirtan, are Asat Trishna. Asat Trishna means hankering. Trishna means hankering for Asat. Asat means everything that is material or temporary. Sat means eternal or true. Asat means false. It means temporary. It is our illusion that this thing is permanent, but it is ultimately temporary. That is our Brahma. That is our illusion, that's why it is asat. And the other part is hridaya durbalyam, which means weakness of heart. Now, yes, they seem overlapping, and it all depends on the definition of the two in this context. If you define them in a certain other way, you can make them the same. That's not what we are talking about. These two terms have specific definition. Asat Trishna means something which we are attracted to front and center. Even if you ask me, can I give it up? I will say, no, I cannot. I just cannot give it up. Right now, if you ask me, I may have the theoretical understanding that I can give it up one day when I become very advanced. But today, no. I am attracted to it. I have a hankering for it. And for many people, it can be in the area of family. It can be in the area of money, career, whatever, property, those kind of things which are very hard to give up because those things threaten one's basic livelihood. Okay? Hridaya Daurbalyam, as defined in this context, means you have given it up. But when the moment comes, or when the carrot or whatever swings, due to weakness of heart, in that moment, you are not able to look the other way. Because of the weakness of heart. That weakness of heart comes from past samskar. So at some time we were very attached to it, but now we have been able to give it up. But the moment you see something, then you slip in that moment. There are so many examples. For example, of Ajamil. He was a very pakka Brahmin and all, and he saw one scene in the forest going on. And he got slipped. From that point onwards, there was no returning back for a very long time, almost till the time of his death, when he took the name of his son Narayan. Right? Another example, if you read the story, for example, of Bilvamangala Thakura, very powerful story, very, very powerful story. I will narrate it in brief or length. So he had a very chaste wife. And these are some of the most very strong attractions that exist, material level attractions. But he was very attached to one prostitute. I forget her name. Anybody remembers? Chintamani, yes, Chintamani. And he would go and enjoy with her. And his wife even knew about it, that this is going on. And so she didn't say anything. She was like, okay, she was living within her means. So one time the boy, Bilvamangala Thakur's father, died. So, and the boy was not there. He was at Chintamani's house. So somebody has to perform the last rites. So she goes to what is the story?
Prabhuji, can I tell?
Yeah.
So it was like his Bilvamangala Thakur father expired, and he finished his last rites, and he went to see Chintamani, and it was a stormy night, and she thought today his father expired, so she will not come. So she closed the door, but still he went there, crossed the river, and when he was crossing the river, he didn't see, he just hold the body, and he crossed it with that. And then when he was crossing the
even more emotion. Let me now I remember
yeah.
one point. So after performing the final rites, he again wanted to go to Chintamani's house. His wife was trying to stop him, like, today at least you can stay with your father's dead, or the body get cremated. He said, no, I'm going. She kept following him, And then she thought, my life is useless. So she jumped into the river. It was a high tide or something, it is said, and the river that's where she jumped into the river. Bilvamangala Thakur didn't care. He went downstream at a place where the tide was low. So he started crossing the river, but it was still deep. The emotion here is that the dead body was floating of his own wife. And he thought it was a log of wood. And he sat on the body of his wife to cross the river. Do you remember that part, Mataji? Am I?
Yes, Prabhuji, now
Go ahead.
And also when he went to Chintamani's house, the door was closed. So he thought that he will climb the wall, and he hold a rope, which he think that's the rope, but that was not a rope, that was a big giant snake. But he didn't realize that because he has so much lusty desire to meet Chintamani. So he hold that rope like the snake and jumped the wall, and he went inside. Then she opened the door. Then Chintamani said that, see, you did this much for me. If you would have done this for Krishna or God, then it would have been better. Then he realized what he did, and then he left everything and went back. And then once he went back and started doing the japa and all deity worship, everything.
Devotee. He started very seriously practicing Krishna.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead. So that point
But
is
still, one time when he was doing his rounds, he saw a lady, and he just fell for her again. Like he thought that she has a very beautiful eyes, and he followed her on her into her house. Then he knocked the door, and then her husband opened the door, and he said, "I want to meet your wife in separate."
So hold on. Yes.
Yeah.
So a couple of points I just want to emphasize. That he became very famous. Bilvamangala Thakur became very famous because of his strong practice of austerities, of bhakti, and so on. That people started looking at him, oh my God, he's a great saint. So you should imagine, or you should try to understand how much he gave up his past life. And he became very, very, very fixed, and to the extent where people started, giving him a lot of respect, and he became popular among the people that he's a very, very pakka, very strong, very fixed spiritual person. Go ahead. And
then he asked his wife for his, like, we call it like hairpin, and he took those hairpin and put it in his eyes, like he I don't know what to say that, like he
blinded himself.
Yeah, he blinded himself so that he will not see these things, and he will not fall for them, and he can focus on his worship.
Yeah. So just to kind of reiterate what Mataji said, that once he saw this beautiful woman, he followed her to the house, and the husband opened the door and said, this great saint has come. And he asked, I want to meet your wife in private. So he said, okay, because he's such a great saint, he said, whatever, if you want to enjoy with my wife, that's also okay. That householder man was so submissive or so simple that he said, okay. And even the wife was okay, if you want to enjoy with me, you are such a big saint, there must be something. So even she agreed. And when he saw that, he felt so ashamed that is when he asked the wife, that lady, to bring like the hairpin, and he pierced his eyes. And from that point onwards, there was no going back, and he became one of the greatest known devotees of Lord Krishna. So this is the story of Sri Bilvamangala Thakur. But the point I wanted to point out, Shamlila Mataji, can you see this Hriday Durbalta, this aspect that I'm bringing out here? That
yes, Prabhuji.
Had a past conditioning, you give it up, but due to weakness of heart, now I cannot say if that was the reason. It was all the Lord's plan. Bilvamangala Thakura is one of the greatest, Vaishnavas that is known in Vaishnava history. But just as an example, I'm mentioning that when you give up something and then one slips, that is the called as Hridaya Daurbalyam.
Prabhuji, sorry, thank you for that. Just one quick follow-up question. So in this stage, are we still depending on our false ego and giving up things prematurely, thinking, "Arey, itna to main kar sakti hu"? Is that what is happening in this stage?
Yes. Somewhere is that little too early ahankar that I have conquered this. I have conquered this aspect. One should never feel that, and that's why one should always feel that one is very, very weak. One should accept his Hridaya Durbalta. Even if it is not manifesting, one should know that any day it can rise.
एक मिनट, I will not talk. Please, मारू 5 मिनट में बात से हमरा પછી વાત કરું. બધા સાથે.
One should never take it for granted. That's what you are bringing out, and I'm agreeing with that.
Okay.
One should.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Guards on your radars, like that Israel, whatever Hamas attacked. They said,
the dome, Iron Dome.
Whatever there, no, not Iron Dome there, whatever they had all these security cameras and everything. And what happened? Like, they became complacent or something, all their high-tech technology went for, out of the window.
Right. Yes. Yes, Prabhuji.
We should, even though we may develop high-tech technology, we should also be very careful at the same time, that knowing that one day it could fail.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
And Asat Trishna, so we have to, slowly begin to see what are we already attached to, which we are unwilling to give up at this moment. Hridaya Durbalta is about things which we think we have given up, but they may come back. So I hope there is this difference or this thing that you can see.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. We'll call it a day here. Okay. There is something on the chat. Can Naam Japa help with these faults? So it is a iterative process. Yes, Naam Jap can help with these faults, but at the same time, we are saying we need to remove these faults and then do Naam Jap. So it is iterative. But the point is that we must, another thing that I wanted to mention, it's a good point that sort of you bring up. We must not willingly entertain these kind of this durbalata, etc., etc. It needs to happen spontaneously. Otherwise, it is in the category of asat trishna. If we think, oh, I'm not doing it till tomorrow, it's like, I will never get angry till tomorrow. We know tomorrow we will get angry. Then it is not hridaya durbalta. Then it is asat, we're just too attached. And then asat trishna is something we have to really work on. Slowly, we must work on removing our attachments. And the way, at least I have tried, I'm not successful at all, but the way one should try to remove these things is to realize that in our long span of life, not this life, I'm talking about many, many lifetimes, how important is this? If I am able to get back at a person, अरे उसने ये बोला मुझको, मैं वो बोल दूंगा, or this or that. Even in this life, 2 years later, 5 years later, it wouldn't matter. What to say about multiple lifetimes? I read a quote recently. What did it say? I captured it here. It said, where is that? Yeah. Above all else, our relationship with the holy name is what truly matters in the end. Everything else will fade away. All the little things that we are attached to, the asat trishna, will fade away. So one should try to weigh, hey, what am I giving importance to versus what I could give really the importance to. And this asat trishna is sapping away my energy that I could put into my strong Naam Jap. And slowly, gradually give up slowly our attachments, especially those that are sapping away our energy to do Naam Jap. Now, we may have a family. I'm not saying you have to become a sadhu or a sadhvi and give it up. If the family is conducive to our Naam Jap, there's no need to give it up. In fact, it could be a support structure. Okay? So why give it up? So especially giving up those things in the asat trishna category, which are sapping our energy from our bhajan, that we should seriously consider. Hey, what am I getting attached to versus, this eternal benefit, and try to give those up. So that, like that, we should work on asat trishna, hriday durbalta I talked about, Naam Aparadha, and Tattva Brahma is the fourth item, and that comes by serious study of Shastra. And asking questions, not just study of Shastra, but asking questions. A lot of questions can be answered in the Shastra itself because our acharyas have written it in that way. That I will write 5 verses, people will have following doubts if they seriously apply these 5 verses and they answer those doubts in the next 5 verses. Our acharyas are so smart because they know we are so dumb. So they frame the Shastra in a way that it is self, all the sort of questions that one may have, they are answered, but still, we are really, really dumb. We can come up with more and more doubts which are not answered in the Shastra. That is called resolution of Tattva Brahma should happen in association of very advanced devotees. So we should work on those things. Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you for tolerating me. We thought we'll end it sooner, but still ended up taking a lot of the time. So sorry about that, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Dhanyavad.
Hare Krishna.
Dhanyavad, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.